Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Conflict News channel. Please subscribe my channel. Imagine the streets of a city that has been the center of global attention for decades. A place where history, politics, and war collide with devastating consequences. Today we are looking at what is being described as Israel's largest ground invasion of Gaza City, an operation that is already shaping the future of the region and raising alarm across the world. The story unfolding is not only about military might but also about human resilience, the struggle for survival, and the price of geopolitics in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. The ground invasion of Gaza City is not just a tactical decision, it is a demonstration of strength, control, and political will. For weeks leading up to this, airstrikes pounded the city. Drones circled overhead, tanks lined the borders, and evacuation warnings were issued. Then, the armor rolled in. On the exterior level, this is a massive military show. Israeli armored brigades push into the outskirts of Gaza, advancing street by street, supported by bulldozers tearing down barriers and engineering units clearing mines. Helicopters hover above, giving covering fire, while ground troops move cautiously but firmly into neighborhoods that have seen countless clashes before. The exterior optics are of an overwhelming force, carefully organized, supported by precision technology, yet walking into an urban labyrinth designed to consume armies. The interior of Gaza City tells another story entirely. Inside these streets, residents huddle in basements, power flickers in and out, and hospitals strain under impossible conditions. The city's narrow roads, packed apartment blocks, and hidden tunnel systems transform every interior space into a potential battleground. For soldiers entering homes, every door could conceal an ambush, every stairwell a trap. The interior life of Gaza during invasion is defined by uncertainty, families with nowhere to flee, fighters moving through shadow networks underground, and soldiers struggling to distinguish between civilians and combatants. The interior here is not just physical but psychological. The fear of both residents and soldiers transforms the smallest room into a place of suspense and danger. Performance becomes the lens through which analysts, governments, and militaries evaluate the operation. For Israel, the performance of this ground invasion is about whether they can dismantle Hamas command structures, destroy tunnel networks, and neutralize weapons caches without getting bogged down in a war of attrition. Their performance is measured in speed, precision, and how quickly they can declare victory. Yet for Hamas, performance looks different. It is about slowing the Israeli advance, inflicting casualties, and showing the world that resistance is alive despite overwhelming odds. For civilians, performance is not measured in victory or defeat but in survival, whether they can endure long enough for aid to reach them, for the bombing to stop, or for the world to intervene. Safety features in a war zone sound almost contradictory, but both sides employ measures designed to increase protection. Israeli forces rely on heavily armored tanks, advanced electronic warfare systems to jam improvised explosive devices, and protective gear for infantry moving through tight urban corridors. For civilians, safety features come in the form of early warning alerts, evacuation corridors, and designated safe zones, though in reality these often collapse under the intensity of combat. Many families seek safety in hospitals, schools, or United Nations shelters, yet even these places have proven vulnerable in the past. The concept of safety is fragile, and in a city under siege, safety features are less about guarantees and more about chances. The unique selling points of this invasion are scale, symbolism, and the combined use of technology and ground power. Unlike previous incursions, this is being described as the largest ground offensive, signaling a strategic shift. Israel is showcasing the depth of its military capabilities, coordinating air, sea, and land forces, integrating intelligence from drones and satellites, and using real-time data to guide troops on the ground. It is also symbolic, demonstrating to its own citizens, its enemies, and the world that Israel is willing to escalate in order to dismantle Hamas. For Hamas, the unique selling point lies in their resilience. They present themselves as defenders of Gaza, using tunnels, guerrilla tactics, and the dense urban environment to level the playing field against a technologically superior opponent. The price of this operation, however, overshadows every aspect. Financially, Israel is committing billions in military expenditure, with each day of invasion draining resources. Politically, it risks alienating allies, straining relations with neighboring Arab states, and igniting protests across the globe. For Hamas, the price is in manpower, weapon stockpiles, and infrastructure that takes years to rebuild. But for civilians, the price is unbearable: thousands displaced, neighborhoods flattened, and a humanitarian crisis that deepens with every hour. The price is also generational. Each destroyed home, each lost family member plants seeds of anger and grief that fuel future conflict, ensuring that the human cost will extend far beyond the battlefield. When looking deeper at the city under siege, one must imagine the daily reality for those trapped inside. Families gather in darkened rooms, clutching children as the sound of tanks rattles outside. Water supplies run low, food becomes scarce, and hospitals cry out for electricity to keep life-saving machines running. On the Israeli side, soldiers write farewell notes to families, aware that urban combat is the deadliest kind of warfare. The haunting reality is that both sides are bound to suffer, even as governments speak in the language of strategy and objectives. The unfolding situation also speaks to the evolution of modern warfare. No longer do wars play out in open deserts or fields; instead, they are fought in cities, among civilians, with drones overhead and propaganda wars running simultaneously online. Israel's use of high-tech surveillance, precision munitions, and armored ground advances represents the cutting edge of modern military doctrine. At the same time, Hamas's reliance on tunnels, ambushes, and improvised weapons demonstrates how asymmetric warfare adapts in the face of overwhelming firepower. This operation is also a message to the broader Middle East. Israel signals to Hezbollah, to Iran, and to other adversaries that its military is ready to escalate when needed. Yet it also risks drawing these players further into the conflict. Hezbollah's rockets in the north, Iran's political pressure, and the shifting attitudes of Arab states all intertwine with the outcome of this invasion. The regional consequences may be as significant as the immediate battle. Global reaction adds another dimension. The United States voices support for Israel's right to defend itself but faces pressure from international organizations and domestic critics to call for restraint. The United Nations issues urgent appeals for ceasefires and humanitarian corridors. Across Europe, protests erupt, demanding an end to the violence. In Arab capitals, outrage grows, with leaders balancing between diplomatic ties and public anger. The invasion thus becomes not just a military act but a catalyst for shifting alliances and political calculations worldwide. What makes this ground invasion distinct is its ability to simultaneously represent both overwhelming force and profound vulnerability. Israel appears strong, with tanks and drones pressing forward. Yet, the vulnerability of fighting in dense urban terrain means casualties are inevitable, and victory is never absolute. Hamas appears vulnerable, under siege by a vastly superior military. Yet their resilience, rooted in tunnels, local support, and asymmetric tactics, makes them capable of prolonging the fight. Civilians appear defenseless, yet their survival, testimony, and endurance carry power that influences global perception and future negotiations. As days pass, the humanitarian toll becomes the center of attention. Hospitals running on backup generators treat the wounded in hallways. Aid convoys line up at border crossings, waiting for green lights that may never come. Journalists risk their lives to capture the devastation, while social media floods with images that shape international opinion. The humanitarian crisis is not a byproduct but a central element of the invasion, reminding the world that modern warfare cannot be separated from civilian suffering. The story of Israel's largest ground invasion of Gaza City is therefore layered. On the surface, it is a military campaign, complete with tanks, air support, and ground troops. Beneath that surface, it is a human tragedy, defined by fear, resilience, and loss. Beyond the battlefield, it is a geopolitical drama, influencing alliances, diplomacy, and regional stability. And in the hearts of those living through it, it is a deeply personal struggle for survival. As the invasion continues, questions remain unanswered. Will Israel achieve its objectives quickly, or will the city swallow its forces in a protracted fight? Will Hamas manage to inflict enough damage to declare a form of victory? Will international pressure force a ceasefire, or will the conflict escalate into a regional war? Each day brings new developments, new tragedies, and new calculations, reminding us that in war, certainty is elusive. In conclusion, Israel's largest ground invasion of Gaza City represents a turning point. It reflects the exterior might of an advanced military, the interior struggles of a besieged city, the performance of strategies under pressure, the fragile safety measures in war, the unique selling points of resilience and escalation, the immense price paid in blood and politics, and the enduring human spirit that survives even in the darkest of times. The world watches as history is written in real time, knowing that whatever the outcome, the scars left behind will shape the Middle East for generations to come.